Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boschman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive podcast. In this episode, I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to sort of take a look at Mars retrograde and the correlation that we can see and that it has in numerology. So this is what we would call an evergreen resource. This is something that is relevant for, or will be relevant for, each and every time Mars goes retrograde. So feel free to save, like, and share it. Tell your friends about it and keep coming back to it each and every time that Mars goes into retrograde as a reminder of how to best work with these energies from a numerology standpoint. Okay, so basically Mars retrograde this is going to be for everyone, basically, all right, for numerology. So all of the numbers will be affected in some way. You'll see this affect the energy in some way. However, the focus of this podcast, this presentation, is really going to be more focused for the 1, the 4, and the 8. And I'm going to go into an explanation of why that is as we move through this recording. But again, anyone, on the planet will feel the Mars retrograde in some way, right? Or will hold space for somebody else feeling it. So this will help you to understand what someone might be moving through, especially if they have a lot of 1, 4, or 8 placements. So you can kind of understand what they're doing, right? Or like why it's having the effect that it's having. So just to kind of give an overview of why this Mars retrograde is so important and why I'm sort of tying in astrology with numerology is because there are many correlations between astrology and numerology, and how the energy sort of works in tandem to assist us on our journey by providing a metaphysical scientific roadmap or guide, right? So a lot of the readings that I do in numerology, people who have had their astrology chart completed or an astrology reading will say, wow, this gives so much more depth to my astrology reading, or vice versa. The numerology or the astrology can give more depth to the numerology readings because they do work hand in hand. They work in tandem to give a broader perspective of our understanding of ourselves and our experiences, right? So they really do. It's a beautiful marriage between the two energies, between the two sciences. So again, whenever possible, I will sort of incorporate astrological aspects, at least high level, right? I'm not an astrologer, but I'll include those high-level astrological aspects into a numerology reading to add, again, even more depth to the offering. I also, again, often recommend that my clients not only have a numerology reading or coaching session, but also an astrology reading, again, due to the sort of unlimited things we can learn about ourselves and our experiences. So when a big transit or, retrograde or whatever occurs in the sky with one of the planets, and it can easily sort of be translated or tied into the numerology, then I want to share that information as a resource whenever possible. Hence why I felt sort of compelled to record this offering. So as with everything, take what resonates and leave the rest. So this information is going to be relevant for any Mars retrograde because, again, like I said, it occurs pretty much just about every 2 years. But specifically, we have one coming up here that's starting on October 30th, 2022. So again, this is sort of what's prompted me to get this resource out to you all now. So again, this year, the Mars will go retrograde or start that process on October 30th, 2022. Usually there's a shadow period prior to that, so we would already have been starting to feel these energies prior to the date that it goes retrograde, again, which is October 30th. And then just as it stations direct, which will be in January 12th, 2023, we'll also have a shadow period after that that I believe goes through March, where again, the energy will start to sort of taper off, right? So, and I would also suggest, obviously, to find an astrologer that you enjoy watching on YouTube, or that you go to see to have your report done, whatever, to find out the astrology perspective as far as like Mars going retrograde, what that means, what that potentially means for your sign, or I would say your signs, right? Sun, moon, rising, Venus, whatever. So again, that you can get a greater in-depth perspective. So we have Mars, which is the planet of drive, ambition, passion, aggression, initiation, primal instinct, and impulsivity, stationing retrograde until January 12th, 2023, in the sign of Gemini. The sign of Gemini is that of communication, mental activity, and duality. So we can either use this energy of Mars going retrograde to put down the filter, create controversy, get into heated debates that probably won't lead to anything or go anywhere except for, leading to separation and discord. We can use this energy for selfish agendas. We can use it to have free reign for rude behavior. Or, and hear me out, we can use this time for reflection, for release of resentments, for vulnerability, for receptivity, for collaboration in its truest sense. So coming together with others through equal contribution and understanding. This is an opportunity to rethink how we communicate and how we act upon our truth and our fears. So this is also a time to reevaluate how we interact with others. This retrograde will more than likely have some level of effect on each life path number, as I mentioned. However, again, I want to make the focus of this podcast on those who are first and foremost life path ones. I think ones and people who have strong placements of the one energy will definitely feel this the most sort of concentrated and the most pronounced. But also those who have or are life path 4 and life path 8. Definitely ones, definitely 8s, and people with, again, those strong placements of 1, 4, and 8. The 4 I include in this because though it's not as sort of intense or as concentrated as, say, like the 1 and the 8, there are some characteristics of the 4 that really fall into this Mars energy and that will be feeling the effects of the retrograde. So that's why I'm including the 4. But definitely, if you are a 1 or an 8 life path number, or you have very strong placements of the 1 and the 8 and or the 4 throughout your report, this is absolutely for you. I do think that these are the energies that are going to be the most affected by this and that will see the most sort of transformation from this process. And so again, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to get this resource out. Now, when I say someone who has strong placements of the 1, 4, or 8, I'm looking at personality number, birthday number, expression number, heart's desire, balance, and so on. So I think anybody who, whether or not you're actual life path 1, 4, or 8, if you have those predominant placements of 1, 4, or 8 throughout your report, I do think that this is going to be a monumental retrograde, right? Anytime Mars goes retrograde, I think these energies will be strongly affected. And so, of course, if you aren't sure whether or not you have those placements or not, then of course I highly recommend getting your full report run, which I do offer on my website. The link is in the description box. You can book some time with me. I'll be happy to do that. I highly, highly recommend it because it will, again, help you to understand why maybe you're feeling what you're feeling when Mars sort of puts the brakes on, asking us to take a breather. Okay, so the reason why I'm putting my focus again on the 1, 4s, and 8s is because in numerology, these are considered the most sort of driven, the most ambitious, the most determined, the more like Mars-like energies in numerology. Not to say that other numbers don't have these characteristics, these traits. Of course, we all do. But it is very much concentrated in these energies, especially of the 1s and the 8s, but 4s are in there as well. These are energies, these are vibrations that when we have these strong placements, we're somebody who a lot of times, especially when we're in the higher octave of this energy, when we're in alignment with these energies, that are more likely to take charge, to focus on what they want, and then good luck trying to deter them from that goal. Very similar to Mars energy. Mars is, I see it, I want it, I'm going after it. I'm going to make it happen. And we can sometimes, get those blinders on and it's like full throttle ahead. And like I said, good luck trying to deter a 1, 4, or an 8 towards, from achieving their goals, right? Of what they've seen, what they want, and all of those things. They're often the ones making the big decisions, taking the big risks, taking the initiative in situations. Now, for me personally, I have a 1 personality energy. I also have a 4 life path, a 13-4, which is very much relevant because it's got that energy of the 1 and the 3, but we're looking at the 1, right? And of course, and then I have like other 1s throughout my chart and 8s throughout my chart. So I would say looking back, in each of my romantic partnerships, I was always the one to initiate the conversation, to, see it, want it, and go after it. Same thing with friendships. So same thing with career opportunities or aspects, or, just anything looking back over the course of my life. It's really been a lot about that energy, right? Like anything that I have wanted in life, once I focus on it, I go all in, right? And this, of course, can be a great thing, right? That can bring a lot of success, but there can also be a lot of downfalls with this energy, right? Overexertion, taking it personal when we don't reach the goal or when we get rejected in some way, not knowing when to say when, even when the person or the experience has sort of put up the red light 12 stops ago and we're still going, right? Like we're still trying to get there. We're still trying to make it happen. Going all in and then feeling resentful when others can't match that level of intensity, or when we feel like our contribution, when we feel like we're contributing more or investing more than another without taking into consideration that we are not all built the same. And so for me personally, if I look at my numerology and my astrology, I also have Capricorn Sun and a lot of Scorpio placements. So when we look at Scorpio, it's very much like that intensity, that I see it, I want it, I'm going after it type thing. So I have probably scared a lot of people in my lifetime, but it's that determination, that ambition, all of those things, right, that sometimes work out really well and you can have a lot of success from them. So we do need these people with these strong 1, 4, 8 placements, because again, it brings the fire, it brings the initiative, it brings that passion. Just like we need people who are a little bit more passive and, the other more feminine traits, because 1, 4, 8 energy can be very strong in their masculine, right? So again, there's pros and cons to all of the energies. Not pros and cons, let's not say that. There are extremes of all energies, right? Of each number, of each placement. And sometimes we need these retrogrades, right? Especially something like Mars for 1, 4, and 8s to calm us down a bit, right? To take a breather, to put the brakes on, and to make us see things a little bit more clearly. Because like I said, a lot of times, and I speak from personal experience, it's like once, especially someone can be so driven and so like, yeah, just that Mars energy, right? It's like, again, you see it, you want to make it happen. And so people like us need the breathers. We need to sort of be forced to calm down a little bit and sort of see a bigger perspective and see what we're missing through that striving, through that like focus, right? Through that intensity. So this drive, this intensity is absolutely needed at times. But as with all things, we also need a break in that intensity to catch our breath, to reassess, to see who is left standing with us and who fell away and why. Typically 1, 4, and 8 energy. Now, again, if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I don't have these placements, this is still applicable, right? Like this can still translate into your life. The only reason why I'm focusing on 1, 4, 8 is because it's such strong energy within these vibrations. It's so condensed, right? So, but again, if you don't have these placements, this is still for you. There are potentially still places within your life that you can take a breather, that you can become the observer of the experience, right? So, when we look at 1, 4, 8 energy, and we talk about, who's left standing and who fell away and why, typically 1, 4, 8 energy, they are not the most vulnerable. It's not the most vulnerable vibration, right? Or vibrations. They're not the most, typically speaking. And again, this is just looking at the energy. This is not looking at, human interactions and all of that, but they're not typically the most open with their needs. Or their emotions necessarily, right? They're not necessarily ones who are going to always wear their emotions on their sleeves. These are often very fiercely independent souls, solution-oriented, problem solvers. That's the kind of energy that 1, 4, 8 will bring to the table. It's very masculine-driven energy. So Mars retrograde sort of forces us to fall back a bit more into our feminine energies. Because again, when we speak of the masculine and the feminine, we're not looking at gender. It has nothing to do with gender. We're looking at the energy. We all have feminine, masculine energies from within, but some numbers and some placements, right, will express in a more masculine or sometimes in a more feminine way. And so it's up to us to balance those energies out. And things like retrogrades, especially Mars retrograde, when we're talking about the more masculine energies, is very beneficial in helping us to step more into our feminine energies. So this can be really uncomfortable for a 1, a 4, and an 8, or people with those placements, because we really need to release and become the observer, as well as open ourselves up more to receiving support and assistance. And we need to trust others to do it just as good as we can, or gasp, even better, right? So when we can hit the pause button and allow ourselves to slow down, especially within the areas that have started to feel like, like we've been forcing or overexerting ourselves to see those results, but we are just sort of spinning our wheels or we're burning out. When we can just stop and see what comes to us organically. Again, what comes to us organically when we put on the brakes, when we observe the people and the opportunities, then we get a much clearer image of what we are actually meant to be focusing our precious energy on, right? And who we are meant to be sort of sharing that energy with naturally, not forced. So this isn't by any means like a call for everyone, especially 148s, to hang up the closed for life and business sign, right? For the next several months as Mars is retrograde. I know better than that. That's not going to happen. And that just isn't going to, that's just not realistic, right? Nor should it be. Life is happening every moment. However, I do see this retrograde as a strong, strong invitation to lay down the agenda, to lay down the weapons, to lay down, the striving, the ideas that we were, so gung-ho about, to move towards those strong desires that we are trying to force into something, right? Lay all that down, and then wherever it is that we find ourselves sort of overthinking, overdoing, overanalyzing, and over pursuing, those are the areas that we need to chill the fuck out and hit the brakes and become the observer. Otherwise, if we don't do that, right, if we just continue to go full speed ahead, whatever it is that we want that's not necessarily working, or we're not seeing the results, but we know we want it, we know that it's for us, and all of those things, if we keep pushing, if we keep forcing, if we keep trying to manipulate the situation so that it works for us, we are going to face a level of frustration, or continue to face a level of frustration that is just going to leave us reeling. It's going to leave us burnt out, overextended. So, it'll just put us through the roof, basically. And then we'll get upset and angry, and again, take it out on ourselves or take it out on others or whatever, when really all we needed to do was release, surrender, and become the observer. Right? And see what comes naturally to us. Now, again, that might sound easy for a lot of people. That might sound like, yeah, that's common sense. But for people who have a lot of 1, 4, and 8 placements, it's not, it goes against that sort of the natural rhythm of those energies, because those energies are such ambitious, driven energies. So it's very natural for a 1, 4, and 8 to, again, see something, be determined, and go after it with full passion, with full force, with the ingenuity to make it happen. And many times, most times, it's successful, right? That endeavor, that taking that risk, whatever the case may be, is successful. So not every person, right? Not every vibration is meant to be the observer, have things come to them, be more receptive type thing. Of course, it's a balance, but a very strong signature of 148 energy, again, is getting the idea and then making it happen, turning it into something very practical, very physical, very tangible. And in order to do that, there has to be the fire behind that person with those energies to be able to do that. They're not necessarily passive energies. So there is a time and place for everything. But again, the retrograde season sort of allows us to, hit the brakes, or the universe hits the brakes for us, to see where it is that we are extending our energy in places that we don't need to be, that we've become overly obsessed with, or overly determined, right? And it's kind of that energy, and we see this a lot with 1, 4s, and 8s, where it's like we have the idea, we're chasing after the vision, but at some point things changed, and whatever this was, or whoever this was, suddenly became no longer for us, and we missed that piece because we were so determined to go after and to make this happen, right? So again, the retrograde, especially Mars retrograde for these energies, allows us to pause, take a closer look, and reevaluate. Is what I'm putting all this energy and this force behind something I even still want, or something that even feels aligned, something that I really still need to continue to move towards? And sometimes we get surprised by the answer, which is like, oh no, I don't even want this anymore. This doesn't even make sense anymore. And why am I going after this? So headstrong. So again, this is an opportunity to become the observer. Otherwise, that frustration level will be through the roof. And this energy, when not worked with constructively, can become destructive very quickly. Especially in the sign of Gemini, which again is like communication and duality and, networking and working with other people. When that's combined with that Mars energy, we can do more damage than we want to do. So pay attention to what presents itself to you during this time. People and opportunities that you did not have to pursue or initiate, but that found you and were drawn to you. Put your energy into those people and those experiences now, and see what transpires from this softer, more receptive energy. A lot of magic can happen with this exchange, and instead of sort of trying to force or control a situation, we get the opportunity to see things unfold in a more synergistic way through collaboration. And that's the other thing too, not to say that ones, fours, and eights don't collaborate, aren't able to collaborate, don't network, all those things. They're actually meant to. However, they are, again, very independent, like thinkers. They're very much independent. They can be fiercely independent in their actions. And so it's sort of sometimes they need that nudge. They need that, they need the experiences of people coming to them to collaborate, right? To open their mind, their eyes to what a collaboration can bring for them. Because again, these are typically people who, and again, I'm just speaking about the energy. Of course, it depends on what else is in your chart. But these are typically people who want to be independently successful and, do it their way type thing and have it work out their way and get what they're going after and all that, right? Everything that we kind of talked about. So the retrograde and sinking into the more feminine energy of receptivity and allowing people and things and whatever to come to you, right? Allowing those people and those opportunities to come to you and being open to that experience, right? Sort of opens the door for collaboration that might not have been opened if we were just full steam ahead, very rigid in our what we want, right? In our goal seeking. So through this process, right? Through allowing other people to show up for us, as opposed to us trying to prove our worth or showing up to others or trying to convince others of why they need us or why they need our offering or whatever, right? This more organic process of allowing those people that are meant to be in your life, those experiences that are meant to be in your life, to show up to you and being open to those experiences and then open to those collaborations. There will still be plenty for us to channel that fiery energy into during this time, but it's through allowing rather than forcing, right? So we get so much more bang for our buck through this process, especially at this time. And we receive a truly destined, authentic experience, right? As opposed to one that we have we became convinced that it's meant for us and we're going to make it for us no matter what, right? So this is just sort of balancing out that very masculine energy with a more feminine energy. Which can be a very, very beautiful thing. And again, is very much needed for people with these strong placements. We also get to see where it is that we've been showing up to our own experiences in possibly an unhealthy way, and how others may have been showing up to us in a not so healthy way to sort of feed off of that energy, to use our fire for their, with their kindling, right? It's like to get that energy and to use it for their own good in some way. And again, sometimes 1, 4s, and 8s don't recognize when others are sort of feeding off of that energy as opposed to contributing to that energy, right? Like working in collaboration with, as opposed to using that fuel for their own fire. So this time, when we step back, we become the observer, we let the people show up to us. We let the experiences show up to us. We start to see, okay, why is this person showing up? What is their contribution? How is this how is this a part of my story? What does it look like? Right? Like we can become much clearer on a lot of things when we allow things to surface and come to us. Because here's the thing, right? It's like we're sort of able to reassess. Have we been showing up more than other people? Have we been contributing more than other people? And then, getting upset because those people aren't contributing the same way or showing up in the same way. And this will sort of, again, allow us to calibrate, allow us to reassess and see, oh gosh, yeah, I have been showing up 95% of the time. And now that I'm becoming the observer, where are these people, right? That I've kept showing up to, that I've kept contributing towards? Where are these, this job, right? Like whatever it is across the board. this pause, this retrograde, allows us to take, again, if we use it to our advantage, if we become the observer and fall back and decrease the intensity, we allow an opportunity again to see, all right, who's been there, who continues to show up, but in a healthy way, and who are the people that we don't hear from again because we were only hearing from them because we were initiating, right? We were instigating that, going after that, continuing to contribute towards that. So again, it can just open up so much understanding about how we have been participating in our relationships, in just group dynamics in general, in our career, in our passion projects, all of those things. This can just really shed a lot of light on, where it is that maybe we need to make some important adjustments. So this retrograde period allows us to face the uncomfortableness of being receptive. And it is uncomfortable for people who have very strong 1, 4, and 8 placements. It can be incredibly uncomfortable to fall into that more feminine energy, the receptivity, the vulnerability, and again, becoming the observer. These 1, 4, 8s are used to, being in the action, being the leader, being the one who is initiating. So to become the observer, rather than that leader or active participant, in many areas of our lives, that can be incredibly challenging. So, but in doing so, we again begin to understand where it is that we could help ourselves by making some modifications, right? Ongoing. Balance is always going to be key in anything, in any situation. And this retrograde, again, allows everyone, especially 1, 4, 8s, to recalibrate, to find better ways to balance out our own inner masculine and feminine energies. So again, we're not saying just sit back, don't do anything, right? Like just chill for, the next couple of months. What we're saying is to pay attention to where it is that you are forcing something, where it is that you are overly exerting yourself. Those are the places that we need to become the observer, that we need to put the brakes on, that we need to just stop. There will be other things that come into focus that will require us to, use those gifts, right? To use those leadership skills and all of those things. So it's not like we're just going to be like hanging by the poolside, not doing jack. There's going to be things for us to use our gifts with and to use that energy and to channel that energy. The Mars retrograde puts the focus on the things that we need to be, putting our energy towards, putting our focus towards, where that fiery gift is needed, and helps us to take the blinders off so that, again, we're not putting that energy towards something that it doesn't need to be put towards at this time. So it's a very receptive energy, but that doesn't mean that we can't continue to do the things that make us so unique and special, right? With 1, 4, and 8 energy. So for me personally, I'm just going to share this with, again, so many of these strong placements in my own report, right? In my own chart. For me personally, during this retrograde, my mantra is going to be, wait and see who and what I attract simply by being myself with no agenda. So in other words, I will be paying attention. I'll be paying very close attention to who and what shows up for me and to me without my initiating or actively pursuing something, right? So this is very uncomfortable for me. But I also believe whoever and whatever present themselves during this period could be key players in my next chapter, in my next adventure. And I could have easily overlooked them if my blinders were still on and I was sort of hyper-focused solely on what I thought I wanted or needed, okay? So this retrograde is the universe saying to us overachievers, sit your butt down and let me show you what I can do for you. So I'm open. Are you? So after this retrograde, I would suggest, because I'm sure perspectives are going to change. They're going to be different. But the fire and the intensity will return for us, right? Hopefully we are able to, and more equipped to then channel all of that life force energy in a way that best serves us, that's most aligned for us, for ourselves and the highest good of others. That is the true beauty of this cycle, is to, again, redirect, recalibrate, make some modifications, see where it is that we're overexerting, where we're over showing up, where we are a little maybe too intense and can dial it back a little bit and save that intensity for something that is much more deserving of it, right? And I would also say, after this retrograde and having sort of put the brakes on where it is that you were sort of striving so hard and trying to force something into happening, after this retrograde, go back, take a look at whatever that was, and see if it is still even on your radar, or if you still feel compelled to strive so hard for it. Because I bet chances are that it will have cooled off a few degrees, or maybe, cooled off in intensity, and it may not even be anywhere, near your radar at that point. That's like the perspective changes that this retrograde can allow for people with these intense energies. So virtual high fives to my fellow 1s, 4s, and 8s. Let's meet at the energetic spa and get a massage. And let's just take a break. Let's recalibrate. Let's see where things take us. Let's see what the universe can do for us. All right, everyone. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer them as soon as I can. But yeah, take a chill pill. Redirect your energy and just enjoy the retrograde. See this as an opportunity for a staycation, a mental break, and a break in intensity. So take care, everyone. Bye for now.